In the heart of the dusty township of Kwadub, there stood a tavern called Eziko LikaMandla, the Fire of Power. It was where joy and sorrow met, where secrets hid behind laughter, and where legends were whispered after the fourth bottle of Black Label. Music pumped through its walls from sunset to sunrise. Locals swore the tavern was blessed. No matter how fierce the competition, it thrived. But there was one room no one entered. Behind the counter, tucked in a corner near the storeroom, sat an old rusty fridge. "Don't touch that," the owner, Bra Ketho, would growl. "It's broken. Been like that for years." And yet, every night he'd wipe the fridge with a clean cloth. He'd whisper to it. He'd leave a tot of brandy on top before locking up. People joked it was his ritual for profits. But not Gogo Nomathamsanka, the old woman from the village who came every month to the clinic nearby. She always muttered, "That place is cursed. I can smell death under their beer." No one listened, until the wrong hands opened the fridge. Brakitho was no ordinary tavern owner. He had inherited Eziko LikaMandla from his father, who died mysteriously in his sleep. Locals whispered that he'd choked on a chicken bone, but Gogo Nomathamsanka swore it was a curse. The tavern took him. Ketho was charming on the outside, dished out free drinks on holidays, helped widows with funeral donations, even sponsored the local football team. But behind closed doors, he was reclusive, paranoid, and strangely obsessive over the fridge. Some nights, patrons would catch him staring at the fridge long after closing. His lips moved in silent conversation. Others swore they heard crying, soft, sorrowful weeping from the cold box. No one dared ask, but one new worker, curious and bold, would soon unravel everything. Zinzi was a firecracker of a woman. Just 22, freshly returned from Johannesburg after escaping an abusive relationship, she took the job at the tavern out of desperation. Braketho was reluctant, but he needed help. Business was booming, and he couldn't do it alone. Zinzi had sharp eyes, quicker wit, and an unfiltered mouth that made her both adored and feared. Patrons liked her sass. Elders called her disrespectful. But Zinzi didn't care. She was just trying to survive. One late night she was cleaning up when she noticed something odd. The fridge, unplugged and rusted, was cold, and it hummed softly like it was alive. She asked Ketho. He barked at her. "Mind your business. That fridge is none of your concern." But Zinzi was never good at following orders. A week passed. Zinzi couldn't stop thinking about the fridge. Why was it cold? Why did Ketho act so strangely around it? One night, curiosity got the better of her. After closing, when Ketho left for his nightly walk, always exactly 30 minutes, she crept back in. She wiped her palms on her jeans, approached the fridge, and placed her hand on it. It trembled, just slightly as she gasped. The humming grew louder, like a muffled chant from beneath the earth. Ignoring the chills crawling up her spine, she gripped the handle. It wouldn't budge, until it did. The seal broke with a hiss like a snake. Inside, she saw something that would haunt her forever. A human head, frozen in mid-scream. Eyes wide open, teeth cracked, skin leathery but intact. She stumbled back, knocking over a crate. A bottle shattered. The tavern had just lost its silence. The next day, Eziko LikaMandla was different. The speakers sputtered and died. The beer taps ran dry. A strange stench hung in the air, thick and sour. Customers arrived but didn't stay long. Some said the music made their stomachs churn. Others claimed they saw a shadow sitting at the corner table, watching them. Braketho returned that morning and saw the fridge slightly ajar, his face twisted in horror. He didn't speak, just locked himself in the storeroom for hours. By the time he emerged, his shirt was soaked in sweat, his eyes bloodshot. He walked to the middle of the tavern, climbed onto a table, and began to speak. Not to the crowd, to the air, to the head. "Forgive me," he whispered. "I never meant for it to go this far." Customers fled. Zinzi stared, trembling. Something ancient had awakened. That night, Zinzi couldn't sleep. The head haunted her. Not just the sight of it, but its presence. She could still feel its gaze, could still hear the fridge humming from miles away, like a warning echo across space and time. When she closed her eyes, she heard whispers in a tongue she didn't recognize. They weren't just in her head. They were in the walls of the tavern. Paint peeled. A mirror cracked without touch. The place itself seemed to mourn. She returned the next morning to find a cow's skull placed at the tavern's doorstep. A gift, or a warning. The old woman sat beneath the marula tree as she always did, her stick tapping a rhythm into the earth. Zinzi approached, pale and shaken. "Gogo! What is in that fridge?" Gogo didn't look at her. "You opened the door, didn't you?" Zinzi nodded, tears forming. "The ancestors are angry now," Gogo whispered. "That head belongs to someone whose spirit was never laid to rest. Eziko LikaMandla was built on injustice. That tavern lives because someone else died." Zinzi's heart raced. "Who was it?" Gogo finally turned her milky eyes to her. "Find the river child. He knows." "Who's that?" Gogo only said, "When the moon bleeds, follow the drums." That weekend, the moon turned blood red. Some blamed the eclipse. Others stayed indoors, fearful of bad omens. But from somewhere deep in the veld, drums began to echo, soft at first, then louder, calling to something ancient. Zinzi followed them past midnight. She walked barefoot through thorny bushes, guided by the rhythm. She reached a clearing where a boy no older than 10 sat alone. His eyes were too old for his face. His body shimmered faintly under the moonlight. "Are you the river child?" she asked. He nodded. "You woke the head. Now it wants justice." "Who is it?" He looked to the sky. "The one they betrayed. The one they buried in silence. You must find his story before the tavern eats you too." The next day, Zinzi returned to the tavern, shaking. The music hadn't returned. The smell had worsened. Ketho sat behind the bar, muttering. "He's watching. I feel him. I hear him laughing." "Who is he?" Zinzi pressed. Ketho didn't answer. Instead, he grabbed a spade and led her behind the tavern to the backyard, a place overgrown with weeds. "This is where it started," he said, "where my father and his friends buried the rest of the body. Only the head didn't rot. It never rotted." They began to dig. What they unearthed wasn't a skeleton. It was a mask, carved from bone, etched with symbols from the old kingdoms. Not a burial, a binding. Gogo no Mathamsanka gasped when she saw the mask. "That is the face of Malungisi the seer," she said, crossing herself. "He could see into men's hearts. He was killed for knowing too much." "By who?" Zinzi asked. "By the men who drank in that tavern. He knew what they did during the war. He tried to tell the truth. They silenced him, cut off his head, and trapped his spirit in that fridge to keep him from speaking." "Why now?" Gogo's eyes narrowed. "Because truth cannot be silenced forever. And now, you carry his voice." Zinzi started seeing them. Figures only visible in reflections, elders in robes of smoke, with no eyes, just swirling light where their faces should be. They sat in circles in the tavern mirrors, whispering in languages long forgotten. One reached out through the glass and pressed its hand to hers. A vision hit her like lightning. Blood in the tavern, screams, men dragging a body, laughter turning into guilt, into silence, into madness. She screamed and collapsed. When she woke, Bra Ketho sat beside her, crying. "I was just a child," he said, "but I watched them do it. I never stopped them. Now he haunts me, haunts the tavern." Zinzi didn't speak. She just looked at the mirrors. They were all watching now. Customers started dying. One collapsed mid-sip. Another drove his car into the river, eyes wide open, mouth foaming. The news blamed it on alcohol, but the town knew better. The tavern was cursed now. Locals avoided it. Graffiti marked its walls. "Let him speak." Windows shattered at night with no sign of intruders. Dogs barked at it from a distance, but wouldn't go near. Zinzi knew it was time to return to the river child, but this time she wouldn't return alone. The river child sat in the reeds, humming. Zinzi approached with the mask wrapped in cloth. "I need to know how to end this," she said. The boy nodded. "The mask must be worn by blood. Only then will the head remember. Only then will the truth burn through the lies." "But whose blood?" "His family," the boy said. "The one who mourns still. The one who never stopped calling his name." Zinzi knew then she had to find Lungisi's kin, and fast. Zinzi searched records, asked elders, and followed rumors until they led her to a crumbling shack in Ethoyandu. There she found an old woman named Madlamini, who wore a faded red scarf. "I had a brother once," Madlamini said. "A prophet. He disappeared. They told me he left for the mines, but I knew. I always knew." She wept as Zinzi unwrapped the mask. "His spirit calls for justice," Zinzi said softly, "and you're the only one who can give it." Madlamini stood slowly, placed her hand on the mask. "I'm ready." They arrived under thunderclouds. Madlamini walked slowly, leaning on Zinzi. The tavern loomed like a sleeping beast. Its door groaned open by itself. Inside, the air was heavy. Time itself felt warped. Zinzi guided Madlamini to the center of the room, where the mirrors trembled and the fridge hummed like a burial song. She placed the mask on Madlamini's face. A wind howled through the walls. And then, a scream, ancient and raw, shattered the silence. The head inside the fridge opened its mouth wide and began to speak. The scream settled into a voice, raspy, layered with echoes, as if it came from beneath centuries. They thought they could silence the stars, but the sky never forgets. Everyone froze. Even Bra Kitho dropped to his knees. The head turned. Yes, turned. Its mouth moved in rhythm with the words. Madlamini stood strong, the mask glowing faintly. "I was Mlungisi, born under the Rainmaker's moon. I warned them. They were stealing land, burning homes, killing the innocent. I saw their sins." He listed names, men long dead, others still living. The tavern was payment, blood money, and now the debt is due. Ketho snapped. He began scratching his arms, muttering nonsense. "The fire, it won't stop. I didn't kill him. I only watched. I was a boy." Zinzi rushed to help him, but he screamed, eyes rolling back. "They told me if I fed the head dreams, it would stay quiet. We gave it brandy, whispers, laughter." He turned to the fridge. "I kept you safe. I gave you life. Why now?" The head stared at him. A single tear of blood rolled down its cheek. Zinzi stepped forward. "Because truth waits, and you fed it lies." That night rain poured without clouds. The tavern's floor split open. Not violently, ritually. Beneath the tiles, old bones surfaced, wrapped in cloth marked with ancient glyphs. Gogo Nomathamsanka arrived, humming a burial chant older than language. Villagers gathered outside, drawn by some unseen force. Zinzi, Madlamini, and Gogo placed the bones beside the head. The head began to hum, then sing. It was a song of mourning, of remembrance, of freedom. And with every note, the tavern's walls trembled. And in the crowd, faces turned pale, because the song began to name their secrets. The tavern exposed everyone. A respected elder who had bribed judges during the land claims. A nurse who had stolen drugs from the clinic for years. A teacher who abused children behind the school hall. The song revealed them all, not with hate, but with truth. Cold, unforgiving. Some collapsed, others ran. But many stood and wept. Truth, even when it burns, heals. Braketho was taken before the Mbizo of elders. Not the living ones, the ancestral circle, summoned in the fire-lit yard behind the tavern. He faced shadowy judges dressed in cloaks of wind and fire. Zinzi was told to speak on his behalf. "He kept the secret alive," she said, "but he didn't spill the blood." Madlamini, her voice deepened by the mask, added, "Guilt lives even in the innocent if silence feeds the evil." The spirits turned to Ketho. He sobbed, "I will serve him, serve the truth. Let him use me." The fire roared, and the head smiled. The tavern was closed for 7 days. When it reopened, everything had changed. Gone were the neon lights and thumping music. In their place, drumming circles, murals of ancestors, and storytellers sharing the town's true history. It was no longer just a tavern. It became a place of remembrance, a place where the past walked freely among the living. Zinzi returned to the river, mask in hand. The river child smiled, older now, his eyes no longer ancient, but young again. "You helped him speak. Now help others listen." Zinzi asked, "Why me?" The river child touched her heart. "Because you carry fire, and fire burns both ways, destruction or light. You chose light." Then he vanished, becoming mist that danced over the reeds. The head, now reunited with its bones, was buried beneath the tavern with full honors. Gogo no Matamsanka sang the final verse. Birds circled overhead as if saluting. As the earth was closed over him, flowers sprouted instantly. It was over, or so they thought. One night a stranger arrived, tall, skin the color of storm clouds, eyes glowing red. He stood at the bar and ordered nothing, just stared. "You don't belong here," Zinzi said. He smiled. "Neither did the last one." But he spoke. "I do worse." Then he vanished, leaving behind a coin made of bone. Gogo whispered, "Another spirit is rising." Zinzi found herself dreaming of fire and blood, of a door in the tavern that hadn't existed before. Behind it, drums, chains, and laughter laced with pain. She awoke gasping. The tavern hummed again, but not the same. Something else had been woken. A new chapter, a darker trial. It appeared in the storeroom, where the fridge had once stood. A wooden door, older than the walls themselves. It pulsed with warmth, carved with symbols of old kingdoms, some that hadn't existed for centuries. Zinzi stared at it. Every instinct told her not to open it, but her feet moved on their own. As her hand touched the knob, a voice boomed from inside. "You have heard the dead. Now face the forgotten." The door creaked open, and the world turned upside down. Zinzi stepped into darkness, then light, then something in between. The air shimmered, thick with memory. She stood on red earth beneath a sky of swirling smoke. Faces floated past her, some crying, some screaming, some whispering names. It was the borderland, where the unremembered waited. A lion with 4 eyes appeared, its mane made of ancestral cloth. "You walk with borrowed courage," it growled. "Why?" Zinzi swallowed her fear. "Because someone has to remember them." The lion stepped aside. "Then walk." She did. Thousands of them. Women who died nameless in wars, men buried in mass graves, children erased from history. They surrounded her. "We were never mourned," they said in unison. "Our stories were stolen. Will you carry us?" Zinzi fell to her knees. "I don't know if I can." One spirit, a girl with burned feet, placed a hand on her shoulder. "Then learn." And suddenly Zinzi felt their memories surge into her, like fire through her veins. Pain, beauty, wisdom, truth. In the depths of the borderland walked a creature known only as the Bone Collector. 8 feet tall, limbs stitched from bones and ropes, it wore a cloak of forgotten names. It hunted the unburied. Zinzi saw it dragging a screaming man across the dust, one of the tavern elders who had denied the past. She stepped forward. "Let him go." The creature turned. "He refused remembrance. I offer him silence." Zinzi raised the ancestral mask. "Then remember him through me." The creature paused, then vanished, leaving only a single bone in her hand. The man's name echoed through the skies. Becky Zitha. He was no longer forgotten. To return home, Zinzi had to follow the Moonstone Path, a trail made from glowing stones that floated above a cliff of memories. Each step revealed visions, her own mother crying after her father left. The day she ran away from Joburg, bruised and afraid. The moment she first saw the head in the fridge. She wanted to stop, but she walked on, because now she walked not just for herself, but for all those whose truths were buried. Zinzi awoke in the tavern storeroom, soaked in sweat. The door was gone, but something was different. She could see colors in people's auras now, could hear whispers in trees, could feel the emotions of things that could not speak. She had become something more. A memory keeper. Gogo no Mathamsanka confirmed it. "You were chosen. The world needed someone to carry the unspoken stories." "But why me?" Zinzi asked. Gogo smiled. "Because you listened when no one else would." To honor the spirits, the town held a festival of dust, where ancestors were celebrated and offerings made. Zinzi was crowned Umamazindaba, mother of stories. Fire danced, children sang. The tavern pulsed not with music, but with healing. But as night fell, the wind carried a warning. A howl, a scream, a calling. Zinzi turned north. Something was coming, something worse than silence. In the mountains near the town, something woke from a centuries-old slumber. A tikaloshi, not the mischievous one from bedtime tales, but the original, a shapeshifter made of human shame and broken oaths. It sniffed the air and smiled. So many lies, so many buried truths. I shall feast. It began to walk toward the tavern. Zinzi had a dream. In it, she stood before an elder she had once trusted, a priest who had taught her to pray. But he turned into the tikaloshi, laughing. You can't fix what was never whole, he hissed. Truth without justice is just pain. She awoke gasping. The coin the red-eyed man had left was gone. In its place, blood and feathers. The tikaloshi had entered the village. Gogo Nomathamsanka summoned the guardians, spirit walkers, dream weavers, hunters of darkness. They came from different villages, a mute boy with fire in his palms, a woman who walked in dreams, and an albino warrior who could speak to stones. We have one chance, Gogo said. We must trap the tikaloshi in the tavern before it devours every truth we've uncovered. Zinzi looked at the mirror behind the bar. The spirit of Mlungisi appeared. He nodded. The tavern gave birth to silence. Now it must become the place of reckoning. Rain fell, but it wasn't water. It was red, thick as rust, coating rooftops and soaking into the earth. People screamed, fled indoors praying. Zinzi stood in front of Eziko LikaMandla, holding the ancestral mask. The tavern pulsed like a beating heart. It's not rain, she whispered. It's memory. From the east came the tikalosha, tall now, stretching into the clouds with faces sewn into its skin. It didn't walk. It glided, shadow wrapped in shadow. I come for silence, it hissed. I come for the truth, to unlive it. Inside the tavern, every mirror shattered at once, except one. The main mirror behind the bar turned black, then lit up with the face of Mlungisi. The tavern must become the cage, he said. The walls soaked in memory, the floors fed by truth. Only here can he be bound. The guardians formed a circle, speaking in unison, each voice ancient, borrowed from ancestors. But something cracked. Zinzi turned. Braketho was gone. Braketho ran through the sugarcane fields, cradling something in his jacket. The bone coin, the tikaloshi's gift, his way out. He whispered, Forgive me, Zinzi. I didn't ask to carry this guilt. Behind him, the tikaloshi slithered, whispering back, You were never guilty, until now. Suddenly, Kitho stopped. A child stood in front of him. The river child, eyes glowing, voice stern. If you hand that coin over, you erase everything. Kitho fell to his knees. I just want peace. The child touched his head. Then die clean. The coin burned through his chest, leaving nothing behind. Eziko LikaMandla groaned like a living beast. Symbols emerged on the walls, some glowing, others bleeding. The fridge hissed, then melted into the floor, revealing a spiral staircase leading downward. Zinzi looked at Gogo Nomathamsanka. Was this always here? Gogo nodded solemnly. The tavern was never just a tavern, it was built on a door. They descended. Beneath the tavern was a vast cavern, glowing with fireflies that whispered in long-dead voices. At its center, a well filled not with water, but ink. Living ink. History. Zinzi stepped to its edge. In its surface, she saw everything. The day Mlungisi was killed, the elder who ordered it, the first lie told, the first child who disappeared, and then something more. Her own face, not just her bloodline. Gogo Nomathamsanka wept. I tried to protect you, she said, but your great-grandfather was one of them, the ones who silenced Mlungisi. Zinzi staggered back. No, he was the one who carved the mask to trap him. The guardians turned. The tavern shook. The fireflies screamed. Zinzi clutched her head. So I'm not the solution? She looked at the well. I'm the lock. The Tikaloshi descended into the chamber, howling. Its arms stretched across the cavern, grabbing ancestor spirits, crushing them. You think truth is strength? It roared. Truth is a wound. Zinzi fell. The mask slipped from her hand. The beast lunged. But the river child stepped between them. He lifted the mask, placed it on Zinzi's face. You were made to bind, but you chose to free. That changes everything. And with that, the ritual reversed. Zinzi, now glowing with every soul she had remembered, stood tall. The Tikaloshi charged, but the spirits rose behind her. Thousands, millions, unnamed but not forgotten. With one word, Sikumbule, we remember. She split the Tikaloshi apart. It screamed as faces peeled from its skin and returned to their rightful place in memory. Then it vanished. The tavern sighed, and finally it was quiet. Eziko LikaMandla burned that night, not from fire but from cleansing. In the morning only the foundation remained. People gathered around. Flowers bloomed where walls once stood. Zinzi stood barefoot on the ashes. This place is no longer needed, she said. The truth lives in us now. And from her satchel, she pulled a scroll, a list of every forgotten soul she had carried. She read them aloud, one by one. The wind carried each name into forever. Months later, a new structure stood on the land. Not a tavern, not a bar, but a library, walls built from clay and bone, roof woven from reeds and truth. Inside, children listened to storytellers. Zinzi sat by the window, the mask now hanging above the door. Gogo Nomathamsanka passed her a cup of tea. You've done what even the bravest couldn't. Zinzi smiled. Number, I just listened. And far away at the river's edge, the child watched, smiled, and vanished. Months passed. Peace returned to the village. But on the edge of the forest, a tree began to grow from the ashes of Eziko LikaMandla. It was unlike any other tree. Its bark was black as coal, and its leaves shimmered like glass. Children said it whispered at night. Zinzi visited it, feeling something familiar. She touched its trunk. A whisper entered her mind. Not all truth has been told. Zinzi began dreaming again. This time not of the tavern, or spirits, or blood, but of her father, the man who vanished when she was a child. In her dream, he sat beneath the whisper tree, smiling with sadness in his eyes. I wanted to protect you from this, he said, but it was always meant to find you. Zinzi reached for him, but he pulled away. You must seek the mountain. That's where I fell. She woke up gasping. Gogo was already waiting in the doorway. I knew this day would come, she said. The mountain is where truth dies and is reborn. She climbed alone. The mountain was steep and angry, thunder rumbling around it. No path, no trail, only instinct and blood memory. At the summit, she found a circle of stones. In the center, ashes, still warm, and beside them, a pendant, her father's. She picked it up. A voice echoed from the mountain itself. He protected a truth the world wasn't ready for, but you are. From the ground, a hand emerged. No flesh, only light. It placed a scroll in her palm. The scroll contained a final list. The names of those who had never been discovered. Even Mlungisi hadn't known them. Zinzi returned to the village. She didn't speak for 3 days. Then under the light of the full moon, she walked to the whisper tree and began to speak the names aloud, one by one. With each name, a wind stirred. A song rose from the earth. People gathered, listened, wept. At the last name, the tree bloomed. Instantly. Red blossoms, flowers shaped like ears, like hearts, like eyes. It had become the tree of witness, and Zinzi knelt beneath it, knowing her work was complete. Years passed. Children grew up hearing the tale of the tavern that whispered, the fridge that held a soul, the girl who became a flame. The tavern was never rebuilt, but the home of truth grew, into a place where anyone from anywhere could come and speak their truth. No matter how dark, no matter how buried, Zinzi, now old, sat beneath the tree of witness, telling the story one last time. As she finished, the river child returned, unchanged. You carried us well, he said. Zinzi smiled. Will they remember? He nodded. As long as stories are told. And with that, Zinzi closed her eyes. The wind rose, the blossoms fell, and somewhere a fire lit in another storyteller's heart, ready to begin again. Thank you for watching, and remember to like, share, and subscribe.